Welcome back. Now, a prisoner in Alabama has become the first person in the world to be executed with nitrogen gas. The execution was expected to take just a few minutes, but it ended up taking around 25. Kenneth Smith was convicted with a life sentence in 1988 for murdering a woman in a killing-for-hire situation. Now, Alabama is among 3 states trying out this alternative execution method, which has sparked a global discussion over the death penalty. Many accuse the method of being inhumane, calls for it to go completely, of course. Others say that the death penalty is the only fitting punishment for the most heinous crimes and actually really want to have the death penalty back here in Britain. So I'm asking, would you have the death penalty? Should we reintroduce the death penalty? With me now is American lawyer Valdo Calocane. Carol, thank you very much. Great to have you on the show. Tell us a little bit about this in the first instance. So what happened here? The reason behind why they essentially decided to legally gas a man to death in Alabama?
Well, initially, they tried to inject him with some sort of substance a few years ago, and it didn't work because they couldn't find a vein. And they spent sort of 4 hours looking for a vein, which you think about it, I mean, it's a pretty barbaric kind of picture there. So it went back to the jury actually wanted to forestall him from being sentenced to death. The jury wanted him to be imprisoned for life, but the judge overruled them. But in this instance, he was asked which way he wanted to die or be executed, and he chose this new...
So he did choose it then?
He did, probably, well, because he had PTSD after the injection failed attempt.
And the practicalities of it then, it was supposed to take moments for this individual to die. We think it took how long?
I think was it 24? It was several minutes. It was more than a few minutes.
About 25 minutes, I think. Yeah, and not particularly peaceful as well.
No, I mean apparently he convulsed on the gurney, and it was quite. I mean, obviously the way in which it was done was actually more barbaric than they had predicted, and it's the first time that they've done this. But in fact, this method of execution is being banned in Alabama State for animals. If it's not fit for animals, why should it be used for humans?
Yeah, indeed. And as I understand it, one of the key reasons why they decided to go for this method was because a lot of drug companies are now refusing for their products to be used, is that right?
Exactly. They're refusing to allow their products to be used for executions.
OK. Gosh, OK. Well, I'm hoping that shortly we might be able to introduce Nana Akua, our very own GBNews presenter, but I'm not sure she's there just yet, because it does beg the question, doesn't it, whether or not we should have the death penalty in this country. So you come from a country that does have the death penalty, does occasionally use it, like we've just seen here now. Are you against the death penalty then?
I am, actually. And in the US, there's a few states that do still have it. Florida, Alabama. Yep. I think Mississippi is another one. And, I mean, my philosophy on it is that a prisoner or a convicted criminal can always be rehabilitated, even if you just never know. You can't predict the future as to what is possible. Oftentimes they are mentally ill. They have had, in many circumstances, the majority of circumstances, these types of people are from disadvantaged backgrounds, and they end up getting very incompetent legal representation by public defenders.
This is probably the perfect point to bring in Nana, actually, because I think Nana might have some very different views there. Nana, so look, would you bring the death penalty back in the UK? And also, what do you make of that then? That people from disadvantaged backgrounds or people can always be rehabilitated? What do you think?
OK, first of all, send me the violins. Seriously. No, I think the death penalty should be brought back in this country. I'm actually sick to death of hearing people say, oh, well, people can be rehabilitated and let's take the case of this guy who is, the case has gone already. He basically killed 3 people. The guy
we're not sure if he actually did kill them. I mean, that wasn't... I mean, he still maintains that he was in the room.
Do you mind if I...
But didn't...
Do you mind if I just...
All right, well, go on, Nana.
OK, fine.
Don't know what I'm going to say. So let's take the case in Nottingham. He definitely killed these 3 people. There's CCTV and everything of him doing this, right? In the end, diminished responsibilities and manslaughter, that's what it comes down to. But yet he sat and ambushed and waited, and they say that he had paranoid schizophrenia. He didn't take his medication. where does the responsibility for the victim, where does the responsibility for the person committing these crimes, when does it come in? And so, in my view, he'd be the first one that I would have executed if the death penalty were available in this country. And these are just my views.
Okay,
but frankly,
but we don't rape someone who's gone about raping other people. We don't give the same retributive
punishment. Go on, Nana. Nana, wrap it up, and then we'll go back and forth. Go on.
I said there's too much of this. This is the thing. These are the very same liberal people who, if something happened to their children, would be the first ones to press that button. So I think it's about time we stop being so lily-livered about it. And actually, I don't care how they're killed either, by the way, as long as I know they've been executed if they've committed a crime. And in this case, we know he did it.
OK, all right, go on, Karen.
I mean, studies have shown that the actual death penalty that's used in America hasn't actually had any deterrent effect on crime. So if that's what you're after, if you think having the death penalty in Britain is going to stop people from murdering, and I mean, most of the people that go about, like the Nottingham criminal that you gave as an example, are extremely mentally ill. If you look at all the states and all the situations in the U.S. where they do have the death penalty, like I said before, the public defenders that are assigned to these cases, I'm sorry, this is not a nice thing to say, but they're geriatric, they're incompetent, they fall asleep in the trials. So most of the times, these defendants do not get a fair trial. It's a barbaric practice. And quite frankly, as I said before, if somebody commits a rape, we don't then, rape them back.
Okay,
that's not a retributive justice
on this.
Kind of for a civilized society. It's not the way we work as a society. And for somebody who has committed these crimes, the guilt that they have to live with and being punished by having to live with themselves is a much better punishment.
All right, Nana, go on.
Okay, so if somebody commits a rape, that's a rape. You've not executed or killed someone. The person is now no longer not existing. So the most heinous and worst crime on earth has to be when you're murdering somebody, that you have taken a life. That's first of all. So that's not rape. But yes, people should be punished for rape as well. But you've taken a life. Secondly, to your point about actually it's more cruel. First of all, you talk about the death penalty being barbaric, but then you say it's actually crueler to keep people alive if they've committed a crime. So where are we with this? Are you trying to be cruel or not? To me, the death penalty is actually a much kinder way, because you remove these people from the situation. And frankly, I don't want to pay for them. I don't want to pay for these people. If somebody can be rehabilitated, maybe there's a case, and each one should be case by case. But there are many situations where most of these people can't. And I think, seriously, we need to start looking at that, because they cost a fortune to keep them alive. And in the end,
it also costs a fortune. It also costs a fortune to kill them. And the killing is never the killing is never humane. There's never a humane way to do it. I mean, hanging, I'm sorry, but they defecate all over themselves, and it's humiliating.
So,
the guillotine might have been a sort of humane way back in the day to do it. I mean, injection, like with this guy, they couldn't find a vein. The nitrogen suffocation is absolutely barbaric, as we have seen evidence of in the fact that he convulsed for 24 minutes before passing. And who are we to decide who lives and dies? We are not. Well, it's not another. You just said taking a life is wrong. So if taking a life is wrong, it's wrong.
Yeah, murder.
Period. It's not. It's still okay.
No,
this is the same.
All right, good.
I mean, it's never justified.
No. You just interpreted something, then you just made it add something else. Look, taking a life in terms of murdering someone is wrong, but the punishment for that, if you are found to have done this, I have no problem with a lethal injection or the death penalty, and that would be something that has been agreed with the society as a punishment for that particular type of crime. And each crime will be looked at individually, and the whole, you can't just do it, blanket like that. But I'm afraid that I really don't agree with you on this. I think it's easy to sit there and say, you talk about how some people convulse and some people, oh, it's awful. And so what about his victim? What about the victims? And what about the victims' families who have to live with this for the rest of their lives, that their partner or loved loved one has been killed in such a barbaric way. I would be fine if they were executed. I could live with myself.
I'm not trying to lessen their pain.
Yeah.
I'm not, obviously. I mean, it's a
it sounds
terrible
like
thing,
murder.
but it still doesn't justify it. And when we know that the persons are not getting due process, and it will never be applied in a fair and correct manner, because you were never there, you never have the actual evidence and knowledge and know what was going on in that person's mind.
Dead, aren't they?
And if they were mentally ill, if they were not compos mentis, then you don't know, what rehabilitation could be done.
Can I just read out? I'm going to read out, and I'll put this to you, right? It is Steve Marshall, who's the Attorney General for Alabama. Okay, this guy's piped up and said, "To my colleagues across the country, Alabama has done it, and now so can you. And we stand ready to assist you in implementing this method in your state." Nana, I mean, this guy is obviously bang in favour of it. I suppose the problem is, Nana, isn't it, that it's all very well and good calling for the death penalty. It's whether or not an innocent person could ever end up being sent to their death. And does the risk of that outweigh, quotes unquote, justice being served in that sense for you?
Okay, so first of all, you would have to know 100% that they did it. And so, for example, the guy in Nottingham, the CCTV, he actually did it, and we know he did it. The guy who executed somebody, the one in America, we know he did it. So he's not denying it. He's done it. So
there wasn't.
Here we go. I have not finished. So when you know that the person has done it, I don't see the problem with it, and I really don't care whether they suffer in between, or I literally have no compassion for somebody.
You're pretty clear on that.
Who's murdered somebody else.
Yeah. I mean, this one still claims he was in the room but didn't actually commit the act. I mean, so it's always going to come down to a question of fact, and the question of fact is always going to be decided by a jury of the person's peers. Now, I don't want to sound like a lefty here, but a jury of your peers, oftentimes, when these people are sent into the court, they are not given a jury of their peers. And they're not given a fair trial. And so it's the whole system, and the people that are on death row currently in Texas, in Florida, that are there. And there have been many instances historically. Someone very recently was taken off of death row where they've been found to have been wrongly sentenced, wrongly convicted.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
So it does happen as a miscarriage of justice.
Both of you, thank you very much. Neither of you are budging on this, obviously. And hey, there we go, holding a mirror up to the nation, I think, on this actual issue. This is how divided we are. When you look at the opinion, seriously, when you look at the opinion polls on the death penalty, by the way, it is actually incredibly split. So thank you very much. That's American lawyer Carol Kilgore there, and GB News presenter Nana Akua.